Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a little raw applique sweatshirt. So this little lightning bolt design is super easy to digitize, so we'll start by doing that and then I'll show you how to stitch it onto the sweatshirt. Here we go.
Alright, well in this lesson I'm going to show you exactly how I digitized this lightning bolt design. So digitizing a raw edge design like this is one of the easiest things that you can do in Embrilliance StitchArtist as a beginning digitizer. So the first thing that I would do if I wanted to make this raw edge applique is to import an image of a lightning bolt. So if I jump over to create mode here by clicking on this button up there, then I choose image and I can locate the image I downloaded. And there it is right there. I would size it appropriately. So if I want it to be, well, I've got a lot of background, but this, you can see it's spanning about 2.5 inches. So maybe I want it a little bit bigger. I'm just going to stretch that out. And now the lightning bolt is going to be about 4 inches tall. Okay. And then I'm going to lock it so it doesn't move out of place. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw with points, and you can see here that my cursor currently has a circle next to it. That means that by default it's going to make curve points, but you can see this design is not very curvy. So I want to change that to make corner points. Now watch this. Do you see how it changed to a square? I did this by holding down the control button. So I currently have the control button pressed. Now when I start defining my points, they're going to be little squares. And I can just click around. Now I would click right here, but I want it to be closed, so I'm just going to click on this little button. That is the open close outline button. And now I have a nice closed shape. I'm going to show you one thing really quickly. Let's say if I forgot to do that and I'm just going to draw my lightning bolt freehand here. And you see that without the control button held down, it does curves. And we don't want that look. I could fix this by going to each point, right-clicking, and changing them to lines. And do you see how it's straightened out each of the lines and is getting me that same shape? Well, not exactly the same shape. I'd have to move it around a little bit, but much easier to do if you just have control held down first. So let's delete this shape and focus on that. Now with a raw edge applique, there's only going to be 2 rounds of stitching. One is your placement stitching. So we'll take this line and we'll change it to a stitch line, and a single line of stitching is fine for placement. And then you lay your fabric down and then you're going to do a final stitching. So we're going to take this run right here. I'm going to Command C, Command V to copy it. I'm going to change it to a different color. So the signal to tell the machine to stop, we'll just make it something really different, like a bright yellow. How about that? And then I'm going to change this to usually I use a bean stitch. Okay, and that's all there is to it. I would just save this as my stitch file, and that's my raw edge applique. So that's about one of the easiest things you can possibly digitize. In my sweatshirt, I'm going to add some initials down here, and I can do that as well. I can do it in the same color as my lightning bolt, so my finished stitching in my lightning bolt, so I'll stitch it once, but that's probably not a great idea because I want the machine to pause so I can trim around the edge and then go back. So adding the initials is as simple as clicking on your lettering tool, choosing the font that you want, and typing in your initials. And that's how I would make this file.
The first thing that I need to do is to prepare my fabric. So I am just going to iron this out really flat. My iron's a little bit spazzy right now because I just cleaned it all off, and the piece I need does not need to be that big. So I have plenty of fabric here for my design because it's about 4 by 4 inches, or it fits into a 4 by 4 inch area. So then I'm going to take a piece of Heat and Bond Light and just fuse that onto the back. And now I have my applique fabric all set to go. It's a little wet, so I might wait for that to dry a little bit. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prepare my sweatshirt. Here's my sweatshirt. I'm gonna figure out where I want the design. I could print out the design, but oftentimes I just don't do that. So I can use this little tool right here, which I call the design visualizer, and it's 4x4 and it has the center part point open. So I can just kind of hold it onto the front of the sweatshirt and just figure out, kind of get a sense of where I want that center to be. And get a sense, because the design is about 4x4 inches. So I will use this little tool to figure out where I want the design to go, and then I will just draw in the horizontal and vertical centers. Okay, once I get a good position for my design, then I can just draw in the horizontal and vertical lines and mark my design center point. I use that center point, I stick a pin through here so I can identify the backside and know exactly where I need to fuse my stabilizer. So let's do that. Okay, here is my pin here that I've poked through, and I've just laid a piece of fusible poly mesh on top, and I used some adhesive spray to stick it on there. And now we need to float this sweatshirt on our embroidery frame so we can start stitching out our design. All right, so I have some sticky back tearaway stabilizer on my Durkee frame, and I'm just gonna mark the center point. It's not showing up that well, but I can still see it. Okay, so this is my center point right there. And I just grab my sweatshirt. And I'm gonna take my center point of my design, which is right there, and this nice straight line here, and then we will unfold the sweatshirt. Okay, we're looking inside the sweatshirt. And you can see the lines that I drew, I've lined up to the top of the frame. And I still have my center point marked, which is useful for now. So let's bring this over to the machine. Okay, I have the sweatshirt all centered on my frame here, and now I'm going to position the design so that it lines up with the center point right there. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's test that. Okay, I think we can start stitching. Okay, for an applique design on a multi-needle, I always hit the reserve stop button right here because that will force the machine to stop between every thread color. Now my first round of stitching is just going to be the placement stitching for my lightning bolt right here. So let's just start that. Perfect. Now let's lay down our applique fabric. So I've got my applique fabric laying down here, and I'm ready to start my next round of stitching, being sure to hit reserve stop up here in order to stop. And then we're on color 2, which is white, and I think that will look cool with this fabric, so that's great. So let's go. Okay, we're going to take this off the machine and do our trimming. Okay, because this is a raw edge applique, I'm going to trim it, leaving a little bit of a border around the edge. Here is my finished design. I think it turned out pretty cute. It's kind of simple, but this is a 9-year-old, so I didn't want to make it too cutesy, but it kind of has a fun raw edge sort of casualness to it, and I think it looks super cute.